This is section 9.7, graphs of polar equations. This is your objective. Graph polar equations by point plotting. You will see why this image is presented to you in just a little bit. Next slide. I want you to take out your TI-84 and go ahead and change the mode to radian and also polar. Then I want you to go to the window feature of the calculator and enter the following values for the window. Then I want you to go to your y equals. Now since you changed the polar, you're going to have r sub 1 equals, and I want you to type in this function that you see there, sine, and then 2 raised to the theta power minus 1.7. If you did those steps correctly, this is what you're going to see on your screen. Just for fun. Kind of interesting. And this is what we call a polar graph. Let's move on to the next slide. Sketch the graph of the polar equation. You have theta is equal to negative 5 pi over 3. You know that this is negative 300 degrees. So if you just take, go to the unit circle, to the polar grid, and just travel negative 300 degrees, you're going to end up all the way over here. That's why the graph of number 1 is the following. Next slide. Here's number 2, same directions. We need to graph r equals 8 cosine theta. Mode, I want you to change it to degrees and also keep it at polar. Then I want you to go to y equals feature on the graphing calculator and type in 8 cosine of theta for r sub 1. Then I want you to go to second table set, or the table set feature of the graphing utility, and then I want you to punch in these values. Table starts 0 degrees. The change in the table is 15 degrees. So when you go to your table, it's going to show 0, 15, 30, 45, 60 every 15 units. And then independent and dependent variables, leave them highlighted as auto. So in other words, the calculator is going to generate the numbers for you. You don't have to do anything. Once you do that, it's going to give you, so once you do that, press go to second and then to the table feature, and it's going to give you a bunch of values. So once you enter all these values on the table set, you're going to go to the table feature, second table, and then you're going to see theta 0 degrees. For r sub 1, you're going to get 8. For theta 15 degrees, 7.72, and so forth. What you're going to do with those numbers is you're basically going to graph them into this polar graph. So 0, 8, which is right here, and then 15 degrees and 7.7, something like this. Once you graph all those numbers, all those values in the table, your graph is going to look something like this. And this is the graph that corresponds to number 2. Then, if you want, you can actually ask the calculator to graph this for you. But on the test, you're not going to be able to use the graph to answer the problem. What you need to do is you need to use the table set feature. But if you punch this information into your window, theta min 0 and so forth, and then hit the graph, ask the calculator to graph this for you, is going to give you something that looks like this. Let's go to number 3. So same directions, different graph, mode, degrees, and polar. Go to the table set feature. Type in r sub 1 as 4 times whatever you see there, and then go to the table set feature. Keep it just the way it is, and then it's going to generate another set of values in the table. You're going to graph all those values, and once you do that, you're going to end up with something that looks like this. And then if you actually want to use the graphing utility to verify your answer, just go to the window key and then type in these numbers that you see there, and it should give you something similar to what you see here. Let's go to number 4. Keep it same mode, degree and polar. Type in this for r sub 1. And now your table set, I want you to change it to keep the table start at 0 degrees. Change in the table, I want you to put 7.5. Keep the independent and dependent as auto. And then again, you're going to press second table. And it's going to give you a table with a bunch of numbers. And basically, you have to plot all those points. Once you do that, your graph is going to look something like this. Let's go to number 5. Sketch the graph of the polar equation, same directions as the previous ones. The mode, degrees and polar. The table set, I want you to change it to keep the table start at 0. The table, change in the table 15 degrees. Independent, dependent, keep them the same. Go to the y equals and r sub 1, type this in. Once you do that, go to the second table, and it's going to give you a bunch of numbers on this table, and you plot those points into this polar graph, and this is what you should get. And again, you can do this by going to the graph, but you have to play with the window. Let's go to number 6. Sketch the graph of the polar equation, same directions. You know the process. Now here you want to change it to change the table set to 5 degrees, and you're gonna have a bunch of once you go to your type in your R1, go to your table feature, and then you're gonna have this table. Plot the points that you see on the table, and you're gonna plot all those values. And you notice that you don't have to plot it every single point that you see in the table. After you hit 180, it's going to start repeating, and the graph is going to look something like this, which is kind of cool. Some of you ladies in the class are probably going to enjoy this because it looks like a little flower. How cute. And this is basically the end of this video. I know I went pretty fast through this. It's going to be time consuming, basically plotting the points. You need to understand the steps, how to use the graphing utility to generate the table, but it's pretty easy. But this basically concludes video 9.7.